Silent Guests. Chapter 13. The Last Alibi. Detective Sergeant Graham Lennox held Lucy Gilmore's gaze for only a second before turning away. If he noticed anything unusual in her expression, he gave no sign of it. Rainwater still darkened the shoulders of his waterproof jacket, while the two uniformed officers behind him removed their caps and looked around the entrance hall with the cautious attention of people stepping into a scene they had been warned was complicated but had not yet understood. Lucy looked again at Lennox's right hand. The brown residue remained visible across the tips of his first two fingers. It was faint enough that she might have ignored it under any other circumstances, the sort of mark left by tobacco, polish, damp earth, or old ink. Yet Henry had described almost exactly the same discoloration on Arthur's hand after his death, and Lucy had spent too many days learning that details were dangerous precisely because they could look ordinary. Oliver had noticed her reaction. She knew because he moved half a step closer without looking directly at her. Not protective, not possessive, simply aware. Lennox unzipped his jacket. "Before we do anything else, I need everyone to remain in this house unless instructed otherwise. Constable Murray will secure the grounds, and Constable Patel will begin recording who is present. Nobody touches anything you haven't already touched. Nobody decides to help by tidying, and nobody deletes a photograph, message, or file because you think it is irrelevant." Marcus Hale glanced towards Oliver. "Finally, somebody official." The remark carried more bite than humor. Lennox looked towards him. "And you are?" "Marcus Hale." "Mr. Hale, I recommend you resist the temptation to decide which of us is useful until I know why two men are dead." Marcus's expression altered slightly. Lucy almost liked Lennox for that. Almost. Oliver stepped forward. "I can give you the sequence." Lennox studied him. "Inspector Reed." "Yes." "I've been briefed that you're serving." "Correct." "And off duty?" "Yes." "Then for the avoidance of doubt, you are now a witness." Oliver nodded. "I understand." "You don't direct the scene?" "No." "You don't interview anyone?" "No." "You don't access anything further without being asked?" Oliver met his gaze. "Understood." Marcus looked faintly satisfied. Lucy did not. The warning in her pocket seemed to grow heavier. Do not trust the police. She reminded herself that an anonymous message was not proof. Clara Vale had profiled them, manipulated them, and attempted to direct their suspicions repeatedly. Separating Lucy from Oliver would make sense. Encouraging distrust of arriving officers would make sense too. But so did Robert Kay. So did forged authority. So did a false police call. And so did the brown stain on Lennox's fingers. Lennox turned towards the portrait of Amelia. "Where are the bodies?" Oliver answered. "Arthur Pembroke is in his study. Elliot Brooks is on the cliff path beyond the old chapel." Lennox looked towards one of the uniformed officers. "Patel, Mr. Brooks first. Nobody moves him until scenes arrive, but confirm location and establish a route." The officer nodded and left with Henry, who offered to show him. Lennox continued. "The caretaker?" "Ground floor room," Neil said. "Samuel Calder, alive." "Condition?" Henry answered from the doorway before leaving. "Possible concussion, dehydration, bruising, but stable." Lennox made a note. "And Clara Vale?" Silence. Lucy felt it immediately. He had said the name too naturally. Not the woman you believe is Clara Vale. Not a possible suspect named Clara Vale. Simply Clara Vale. Oliver noticed too. "How much were you told?" Lennox looked towards him. "Enough to know she may be on the island." "By whom?" "The station." "Who told the station?" Lennox's expression tightened. "That will be established." Lucy looked at his fingers again. Lennox caught her this time. "You keep looking at my hand." The directness startled her. Every face in the entrance hall moved towards Lucy. She had two choices. Pretend she had not been looking and immediately become suspicious, or ask the question openly. She chose the latter. "What's on your fingers?" Lennox glanced down. For the first time, uncertainty appeared. This? He rubbed thumb against forefinger. Fingerprint powder. Lucy frowned. You were processing something before coming here? A vehicle. Oliver's attention sharpened. What vehicle? Lennox looked towards him. One connected to the island. The entrance hall became quiet. What vehicle? Lucy repeated. Lennox seemed to make a decision. A dark blue Volvo was found abandoned approximately 3 miles from the mainland end of the causeway. Registered keeper is Clara Vale. Nobody spoke. The name felt entirely different, attached to something physical. A car, a registration, a real woman, not merely a face in an old photograph. When? Oliver asked. 40 minutes before we launched. Anything inside? Lennox hesitated. We'll discuss that after I have control of this scene. Lucy remained focused on his hand. Fingerprint powder. Perfectly plausible. Perhaps too plausible only because she had been trained by the weekend to distrust answers that arrived easily. Lennox noticed. You don't believe me. Lucy met his eyes. I've spent 3 days hearing explanations that were technically true and still concealed something important. For a moment, Lennox looked annoyed. Then, unexpectedly, he nodded. Fair enough. He removed a small evidence bag from his pocket. Inside lay a pair of disposable gloves stained with brown-black residue. Magnetic powder. We were checking the interior handles before I boarded. Lucy looked at Oliver. He did not react. Lennox returned the bag to his pocket. Now I'd appreciate the same standard of honesty from all of you. That was reasonable. It should have reassured her. It did not. The first formal interviews began in the dining room. Lennox refused to use Arthur's study until forensic officers had examined it. The large table where Arthur had first told them they were connected now became an interview station, with one uniformed officer recording times and Lennox asking questions from the chair Arthur had occupied on Friday night. Lucy hated that chair being used by someone else. She waited in the drawing room with the remaining guests while each person was called individually. Marcus went first, then Neil, then Helen. Nobody was allowed to discuss what they had been asked after returning, though Marcus complained within 30 seconds that the instruction was ridiculous. Helen replied that it was standard practice. Marcus asked whether she had become a police officer overnight. Helen told him she had simply listened when other people spoke. The familiar exchange should have been comforting. Instead, it reminded Lucy how little time remained before whatever fragile society had formed inside Ravensmere would be dismantled. Once police took control, the guests would become witnesses, suspects, and statements. The strange intimacy of the island would end. Arthur's experiment would end with it. Perhaps that was a good thing. Yet Lucy could not escape the feeling that if the truth was not understood before everyone left, it might disappear into official processes exactly as Amelia's truth had 10 years earlier. Andrew sat beside her. You're thinking loudly. Lucy looked towards him. Apparently, I've developed a reputation. You stare at things when you're trying to make them confess. What am I staring at? Nothing. He followed her gaze towards the fire. That's what worries me. Lucy smiled faintly. Andrew had changed since arriving. The excitement of the history teacher who had brought half a library onto the ferry remained somewhere inside him, but the weekend had stripped away much of his self-doubt. When evidence needed understanding, people now looked towards him without humor. Arthur would have liked that. Lucy thought again of the manuscript Andrew had stolen. Did you give them Amelia's draft? Yes. All of it? Andrew looked offended. Yes. You realize that was a fair question. I do. He lowered his voice. They took Elliot's drives too. Lucy looked towards him. Both? Yes. That bothered her. Did Oliver make copies? Andrew shook his head. No. Did you? A pause. Lucy turned fully towards him. Andrew, I didn't make a copy. The wording was too precise. What did you do? He looked toward the dining room door. I exported a file list. Lucy felt both irritation and admiration. Why? Because after everything that's disappeared in this house, handing over the only record of what Elliot had recovered felt irresponsible. Where is it? My notebook. Physical? Yes, Lucy nodded. Good. Andrew stared at her. That's it? You expected a lecture? I stole Amelia's manuscript and now secretly copied evidence? You're developing range. He almost laughed. Lucy leaned closer. Keep it safe. His smile vanished. You don't trust them. I don't know them. That's different. Yes. It was. She looked towards Oliver. He stood alone near the window, no notebook now, his hands empty because Lennox had taken possession of his notes. For the first time since Arthur's death, Oliver seemed to have nothing to do. He looked uncomfortable with it. Lucy remembered Clara's profile. OR attempts control through procedure. Perhaps it had been unfair. Perhaps it had been painfully accurate. What do you think of Oliver? Lucy asked. Andrew followed her gaze. As a murderer? As a person. Andrew thought carefully. I think he needs rules because rules let him believe bad things have edges. Lucy looked towards him. That was unexpectedly insightful. I teach teenagers. Human chaos is my professional specialty. She smiled. Then Andrew continued. I also think he's frightened that he missed something important years ago and is trying to compensate for it now. Sarah Mercer, the old file, the decision to close it. Lucy nodded. Do you trust him? Andrew hesitated. Yes. Why? Because when he's caught being wrong, he becomes more careful. Guilty people usually become more certain. Lucy considered that. It sounded like something Arthur might have appreciated. Lucy was interviewed shortly after 7. Lennox closed the dining room door and gestured towards the chair opposite him. Constable Murray sat at the far end with a laptop. Lucy took her seat. Lennox began simply. Full name. Lucy Ann Gilmore. Occupation. Investigative journalist. Reason for attending Ravensmere House. Arthur Pembroke invited me. Why? He said he wanted my perspective on a story he had spent 10 years reconstructing. Lennox looked down at his notes. Amelia Pembroke. Yes. How much did you know about her before arriving? Very little. Had you met her? Not that I knew. That qualification made Lennox look up. What does that mean? Arthur believed some guests had encountered Amelia without knowing her identity. And you? I still don't know whether I had. Lennox wrote something. Lucy watched his hand. The brown powder did not transfer to the paper. You were alone with Arthur on Saturday morning. Yes. For how long? Approximately half an hour. What did he show you? His collection, photographs, letters, research. Did he tell you who he suspected? No. Did he tell you Clara Vale was involved? No. Did he mention Robert Kay? No. Martin Vale? No. Sarah Mercer? No. Edward Bell? No. Lennox leaned back. So Arthur had spent 10 years investigating these people and told you none of their names. He said stories had to be told in the right order. That is remarkably inconvenient. It became more inconvenient when he died. Lennox studied her. Lucy sensed he was deciding whether she was being difficult. She probably was. Tell me about Elliot Brooks. She did. The photographs and the restorations. His insistence upon certainty. The second drive. The discovery of Martin Vale. The images connecting Bell, Vale, and Kay. The circled photograph of Clara. The missing camera. Elliot's death. Lennox listened without interruption. When she finished, he looked towards the constable. Pause recording. Murray frowned but obeyed. Lucy immediately became more alert. Why are we off record? I want to ask you something that may be sensitive before I decide whether it belongs in your formal account. That doesn't sound ominous at all. Lennox ignored the remark. Did Inspector Reed ever tell you he had previously investigated Sarah Mercer? Yes. When? This afternoon. Before or after the anonymous note telling you not to trust the police? Lucy stared at him. How do you know about the note? Inspector Reed told me. That was not suspicious. It was exactly what Oliver should have done. Still, Lucy felt exposed. After. And did he tell you why Sarah's file mattered? He closed it. That's not what I asked. Lucy waited. Lennox lowered his voice. Sarah Mercer's missing person file was not assigned to Oliver Reed by chance. The sentence changed the room. What does that mean? Inspector Reed requested it. Lucy felt a coldness settle beneath her ribs. He told us he was assigned one of Kay's old cases. He was assigned to the review team. Lennox chose his words carefully. But Sarah Mercer's file was one he personally asked to examine. Why? That's the question. Did you ask him? Yes. What did he say? Lennox looked towards the closed door. That he recognized Sarah's name. Lucy stared. From where? He wouldn't tell me. She felt anger arrive quickly, not fear, anger. Oliver had confessed only part of the story again, exactly as everyone else had. Lennox continued. There's more. Lucy waited. When Reed closed Sarah's case, one document was missing from the file. What document? A witness statement. Whose? Lennox looked directly at her. Clara Vale's. For a few seconds, Lucy forgot the sound of rain against the windows. Clara gave a statement about Sarah? Yes. And it disappeared? From the physical file. Was there a digital copy? No. Who last signed the file out? Lennox did not need to answer. Lucy knew. Oliver. Yes. The warning in her pocket returned. Do not trust the police. This time it felt less like manipulation, more like instruction. What was in the statement? We don't know. You've never seen it? No. How do you know it existed? Document register. Lennox resumed recording himself with one button. Before we continue formally, understand something. I'm not telling you Inspector Reed killed anyone. Lucy said nothing. I am telling you that his connection to this investigation is deeper than he has admitted. Why tell me? Lennox watched her closely. Because someone addressed that note to you. There it was, not trust. Strategy. He wanted to know what Lucy would do with suspicion of Oliver. Perhaps police procedure. Perhaps something else. Recording back on, Lennox said. The interview continued, but Lucy heard almost none of it the same way. Oliver was waiting outside when she finished. He looked at her face and immediately knew something had happened. What did he tell you? Lucy almost answered, then stopped. The smallest decision. A test. What makes you think he told me anything? Oliver's expression did not change. Because you look at people differently after you learn they've lied. The accuracy irritated her. Did you request Sarah Mercer's file? Oliver went very still. That was enough. Yes. Lucy felt her anger harden. Why? Not here. That is becoming everyone's favorite answer. Lucy. Did Clara Vale give a statement in that case? His face changed again, this time more visibly. Yes. And it disappeared while the file was signed out to you. Oliver looked towards the dining room door. Lennox told you. Is he lying? No. Lucy stared at him. Then you have about 30 seconds before I decide the anonymous woman was right. Oliver drew a long breath. I requested Sarah's file because I had seen her before. Where? At Robert Kay's funeral. Lucy had not expected that. What? Oliver lowered his voice. Sarah Mercer attended Kay's funeral 4 years ago. But she'd been missing for 6 years. Yes. Did you recognize her? Not then. Then how do you know? Arthur sent me a photograph with the invitation. Lucy felt everything shift again. What photograph? Sarah outside the crematorium. Arthur had photographed her? I don't know who took it. Why didn't you tell us? Because I didn't understand why it mattered until we found Sarah and Amelia's story. Lucy closed her eyes briefly. You keep making the same mistake. I know. No, Oliver, everyone keeps making the same mistake. You tell the truth only after someone discovers enough to force it out. He absorbed the criticism. She continued. What happened to Clara's statement? I removed it. There it was, not lost. Removed. Why? Because it was false. Lucy stared. You decided that? Yes. On what basis? Because Clara claimed Sarah had died. Lucy felt her pulse quicken. When? 4 years ago. Clara told police Sarah was dead. Yes. How? She claimed Sarah contacted her shortly after disappearing and said she intended to take her own life. Did Clara have evidence? A letter. Where is it? Oliver looked towards her. That's what I removed. Lucy went still. You stole evidence. I removed a document I believed had been fabricated by a woman connected to a compromised former senior officer. You were a police officer. I still am. That makes it worse. Yes. No excuse. Again. Lucy hated how much that mattered. What did you do with it? I sent it for independent handwriting comparison. And? It wasn't Sarah's handwriting. Lucy felt another piece fall into place. Clara forged it. Yes. Why wasn't that in the file? Because before I could reopen the investigation, the examiner who helped me died. Lucy stared. Natural causes? Yes. You're sure? I was. That final word frightened her. Oliver continued. I took the result to my superintendent. He told me the K review was closing and that Clara's statement was outside scope. And you accepted that? No. What did you do? I searched for Sarah privately. For 4 years? Yes. Lucy remembered his broken marriage, his son, work always coming first. Another part of Oliver suddenly made sense. You destroyed your family chasing this. His expression hardened. That is not your concern? Arthur thought it was. Oliver looked towards her. He knew. He knew enough about all of us. For the first time, Oliver looked tired rather than controlled. I found nothing. Until Arthur. Yes. He invited you because he found Sarah. I think so. Did he say that? No. He said he had evidence I had been right to doubt Clara's statement. Lucy's anger began cooling into something more complicated. Why didn't you tell Lennox? Oliver looked toward the dining room. Because Graham Lennox worked for Robert K. Lucy stopped breathing. How closely? He was a detective constable in K's unit. The brown residue, the car, the easy knowledge of Clara, the interview strategy. Lucy felt suspicion surge in the opposite direction. Does Lennox know you know? Yes. Then why is he here? Because he's the detective sergeant covering this area. Convenient. Oliver almost smiled. You sound like Marcus. I'm having a difficult day. Lucy looked towards the dining room door. Could Lennox be involved? I don't know. Do you trust him? Oliver considered. No. That answer came without hesitation. Lucy felt the note in her pocket become dangerous again. Perhaps Clara had not meant Oliver. Perhaps she meant exactly what it said. The police, not one officer. A system that had already failed Amelia once. Why? Lucy asked. Oliver lowered his voice further. Because there was one other person at Kay's funeral. Who? Martin Vale. Lucy felt ice move through her. Vale was there? Yes. But he'd been missing for 6 years. Exactly. Did Lennox see him? I don't know. Did you? No. Arthur showed me a photograph. Again, Arthur. Always one step ahead until somebody stopped him. Lucy looked towards Lennox through the glass panel in the dining room door. He was interviewing Henry now. Calm, professional, ordinary. People rarely arrived looking like villains. Sometimes they remembered your children's names. Henry had taught her that. What do we do? Lucy asked. Oliver looked towards the entrance hall. Nothing yet. She almost objected, then understood. For once, waiting was not avoidance. It was strategy. They needed Lennox to believe Lucy trusted his suspicion of Oliver. They needed Clara to believe the note had worked. And they needed the accomplice inside Ravensmere House whoever it was, to believe the arrival of police had ended the guest's investigation. Lucy nodded. So we let them think we've fractured. Yes. You realize Marcus will find that extremely believable. We should use our strengths. For the first time in hours, Lucy laughed, quietly. It felt almost wrong, also necessary. Then a uniformed officer entered from the rear corridor. Sergeant? Lennox appeared at the dining room door. What? The constable looked unsettled. Scene officer found something beside Brooks. Everyone in the drawing room became attentive. What? A second set of blood marks. Lennox frowned. Meaning? Not his. The room went silent. Oliver looked towards Lucy. The constable continued. There's blood on the stone wall about 4 feet from where Brooks was found. Different type, according to the field test. Henry had emerged behind Lennox. How can you know type already? Presumptive grouping kit. Lennox looked towards the officer. Whose? We don't know. Lucy felt the endgame tighten. Elliot had not simply been attacked. He had hurt his killer. That meant somewhere inside Ravensmere House, or among the officers now standing within it, someone might be carrying an injury they had failed to explain. Lennox looked around the room. Everyone rolls up their sleeves. Marcus stared. You cannot be serious. I am. One by one they complied. Marcus. Nothing. Andrew. Nothing. Neil. Old kitchen cuts. No fresh injury. Helen. Nothing. Evelyn. Nothing. Henry. Nothing. Lucy. Nothing. Oliver rolled his sleeves. A shallow cut crossed his left forearm. The room became still. Lennox looked at it. Lucy felt her stomach drop. How did you get that? Lennox asked. Oliver stared at the wound. For the first time since Arthur died, genuine confusion appeared on his face. I don't know. Marcus whispered something under his breath. Lucy looked at Oliver. The cut was fresh, perhaps 24 hours old. Exactly the sort of injury Elliot might have caused while fighting for his life. Lennox's expression changed. Not triumph, something quieter. Recognition. Inspector Reed, he said, I need you to step away from the others. Lucy felt the trap close, and this time she had no idea whether Oliver had walked into it or whether he had been standing inside it from the very beginning. Oliver looked down at the cut on his forearm as though it belonged to someone else. For several seconds, nobody in the drawing room moved. Detective Sergeant Lennox stood near the doorway with one hand resting loosely beside his notebook, while the uniformed constable who had delivered the blood evidence remained behind him. Marcus had stopped speaking entirely. Andrew stared at Oliver with an expression of disbelief. Evelyn looked towards Lucy rather than the wound itself, as though trying to understand what Lucy believed before deciding what she believed herself. Oliver slowly lowered his sleeve. I said step away from the others, Lennox repeated. Oliver looked towards him. I heard you. Then do it. There was no aggression in Lennox's voice, but the authority beneath it was unmistakable. Oliver moved several feet away from the group. Lucy hated how natural it looked. The police officer becoming the suspect, the anonymous warning, Sarah Mercer's file, Clara's missing statement, the unexplained cut. Each detail fitted neatly enough to frighten her. Too neatly. She remembered her own conclusion from only hours earlier. The killer survived inside other people's secrets. They did not need to fabricate entire lives. They needed only to exploit what was already there. Lennox looked towards Oliver's arm. When did you first notice the injury? Just now. You expect me to believe that? I expect you to record what I said. Lennox's expression hardened. Don't become clever with me. I'm not. You have a fresh injury and a second victim with foreign blood beside his body. That doesn't make the blood mine. No. Lennox nodded. That's why we test it. He looked towards the uniformed officer. Get the swab kit. Lucy stepped forward. Could somebody have cut him without him noticing? Lennox looked towards her. A wound like that? It's shallow. So? So he spent 2 days moving through old rooms, climbing over stone walls, searching cellars, and running outside in a storm. Oliver glanced towards her. Lucy ignored him. He could have caught it anywhere. Marcus folded his arms. That sounds remarkably generous. Lucy turned. 20 minutes ago, you were accusing Henry. That doesn't mean Oliver is innocent. No. It also doesn't mean the cut appeared because Elliot fought him. Helen spoke quietly. Lucy is correct. Lennox looked towards her. You're defending him? I am defending the distinction between evidence and interpretation. Her voice remained calm. The blood is evidence. The conclusion that Inspector Reed killed Elliot is interpretation. Lennox stared at her. Helen stared back. For a brief moment, Lucy understood exactly how intimidating Helen Sinclair must once have been from the bench. The constable returned carrying a small forensic kit. Oliver extended his arm without being asked. The swab was taken, another from inside his cheek. Lennox sealed both. No one leaves this room. Marcus laughed bitterly. I was wondering when we'd hear that again. Lennox ignored him. Lucy studied Oliver's face. He appeared irritated, not frightened, yet she had learned enough not to mistake composure for innocence. Where were you when Elliot died? Lennox asked. With Lucy. For the entire relevant period? Lucy answered. We found him together. That wasn't the question. She looked towards him. We were together from the moment he left Ravensmere until we found the body. And before that? Oliver answered. In the drawing room. Every minute? No. Lennox looked towards his notes. You went upstairs? Yes. When? Earlier. Alone? At times. Could you have followed Brooks outside? No. Why? Because Lucy and I followed him together. After he had already left. Oliver's jaw tightened. Yes, Lennox continued. Did you know what Brooks had discovered? No. Did you suspect? Yes. What? That he had identified something in the restored photograph. Or someone? Yes. Someone connected to Sarah Mercer? Possibly. Someone connected to Robert Kay? Possibly. Lennox leaned slightly forward. Someone connected to you? Oliver looked directly at him. No. Lucy watched Lennox carefully. That last question felt different. Not investigative. Personal. Oliver seemed to notice too. Why did you ask that? Lennox gave a small shrug. Because Brooks was withholding information, you had an undisclosed connection to Sarah Mercer, and now his blood scene contains evidence pointing towards you. Evidence does not point towards me yet. A fresh cut does. No. Oliver's voice sharpened. A fresh cut is a fresh cut until your laboratory tells you otherwise. Lennox's face changed. Something passed between the two policemen. History, perhaps, or simply professional dislike. Lucy remembered Oliver saying Lennox had worked under Kay. She looked at Lennox's hand again. The fingerprint powder had faded slightly. Everything about him remained explainable. That was what bothered her. The blood result would take time. Not laboratory time, Lennox explained, but enough for the launch crew to carry samples back to the mainland and have an urgent comparison performed. Until then, Oliver was not formally arrested, though the distinction felt increasingly technical. Lennox took his phone, his keys, his notebook. Oliver surrendered each without argument. The notebook bothered Lucy most. Days of observations, timelines, contradictions, everything Oliver had recorded since Arthur's death, now in Lennox's possession. Can I see that? Lucy asked. Lennox looked towards her. No. Why? Because it is evidence. Oliver wrote half of it while I was standing beside him. That does not make it yours? Lucy almost argued, then stopped. Clara's profile. Useful if directed, she was allowing irritation to dictate behavior. Someone might be counting on that. Fine. Lennox seemed almost disappointed by her retreat. That interested her. Oliver was moved to the library with one uniformed officer stationed outside. Not detained, Lennox insisted. Merely separated. Marcus watched him go. I don't know whether to feel safer. Helen looked towards him. Then don't. Marcus frowned. That's helpful. You seem determined to experience every uncertain situation as though it requires an immediate opinion. Helen returned to her chair. Occasionally, Marcus, ignorance is simply ignorance. He stared at her and then sat down. Lucy moved towards Andrew. File list. He looked confused. What? The one you copied from Elliot's drive? Andrew glanced towards Lennox. He has the drives. Exactly. Understanding arrived. He removed his notebook. I wrote the directory names. They moved to the far end of the drawing room while Lennox spoke with Henry. Andrew opened the pages, hundreds of file names, M-series, AP_final, SM, restoration dates, client codes. Lucy scanned them. Something had bothered her since Chapter 11. Elliot's restored files had appeared almost too conveniently. A new folder had materialized while they were using the drive. Someone inside Ravensmere had network access. Clara's hidden rooms proved she could monitor the house. But if Clara alone had controlled the network, why involve an accomplice at all? Do any file names begin with O? Lucy asked. Andrew searched. A few. R? Lots. GRL. What? Graham Lennox. Andrew looked at her. You think he sent Elliot something? I think everyone is now allowed to be uncomfortable. He scanned again. No. Lucy looked at the client codes. A pattern. Some began AP, others SG, several CV. CV. Andrew looked. Clara Vale. Maybe. What's SG? Lucy thought. Silent guests? Impossible. That was their title, not Arthur's phrase. Sarah? No. She stared at the dates. The SG files were older. 4 years. Around Sarah Mercer's missing person review. Sarah's case? Andrew looked towards her. Could be. One entry caught her attention. SG_04 1_R K_funeral. Robert K's funeral. Arthur had shown Oliver a photograph of Sarah attending it. Lucy felt her pulse quicken. Open files aren't available now. No? But Elliot's notebook? Upstairs unless police took it. Did they? I don't know. Lucy looked towards the staircase. Lennox had told everyone not to leave. She did not intend to. Not secretly. That would make everything worse. Instead, she walked directly towards him. I need Elliot's technical notebook. Lennox looked irritated. Why? Because it may explain the file naming convention on the drive you just removed. What convention? SG. His expression changed. Tiny. But Lucy saw it. He knew something. What does SG mean? She asked. I don't know. You reacted. No, I listened. That isn't the same thing. Lennox stared at her. Miss Gilmore, this is now an active double homicide investigation. It has been an active double homicide investigation for us since Elliot died. And now trained officers are here. Amelia had trained officers too. The words landed harder than Lucy intended. Lennox's expression cooled. That is not relevant to whether you wander around handling evidence. It is extremely relevant to whether I blindly trust authority because it arrived in a waterproof jacket. Nobody in the room spoke. Lennox looked towards the others, then back at Lucy. Elliot's notebook has been bagged. Can I see a photograph? No. Why? Because I said no. There. Not procedure. Authority. Oliver's profile flashed in Lucy's mind, but it fitted Lennox too. Attempts control through procedure. Lucy nodded. Fine. She turned away. Then Lennox spoke. SG means special group. Lucy stopped. Andrew looked up. What? Lennox seemed to realize he had answered too quickly. He recovered. It was an informal designation used in K's unit. Oliver had never mentioned it. Lucy faced Lennox again. What did the special group do? Serious organized crime intelligence. Was it official? Not as a separate unit. Who belonged to it? Lennox's jaw tightened. K. Several detectives. You? A pause. Yes. The room went still. Marcus whispered. There it is. Lennox ignored him. Lucy continued. So files connected to Kay's funeral are labeled SG. That could mean anything. You just told me what it means. I told you what the initials meant in one context. Were you at Kay's funeral? Yes. Did you see Sarah Mercer? No. Martin Vale? No. Oliver? Yes. Lucy felt another connection. 3 people who had supposedly disappeared or investigated each other converging at one funeral. What was Kay's relationship with Clara Vale? Lennox's expression hardened. I don't know. That answer is getting crowded. Careful. The word came quietly. Lucy stared. Was that a warning? It was advice. Helen rose from her chair. Sergeant. Lennox looked towards her. I suggest you remember that Miss Gilmore is a witness, not a subordinate. The former judge's voice had become almost painfully formal. Lennox exhaled through his nose, then nodded. You're right. He looked towards Lucy. I apologize. The apology was proper. His irritation remained. Robert Kay knew Clara professionally through Marrow, he continued. I saw her at charity events. I never worked with her. Did the special group use Marrow information? No. The answer came too quickly. Lucy saw it. Henry saw it too. Graham! Everyone looked towards him. Lennox stared. Henry's voice was quiet. You knew. Knew what? That Marrow shared information. No. You did. Henry stood. I remember Robert mentioning it at dinner once. He said police could identify vulnerable witnesses before approaching them. Lennox's face changed. That is not the same as blackmail. No, but you knew data crossed between Marrow and police. Lennox looked away. Yes. Another truth forced out. Lucy felt exhausted by the pattern. Legally, Helen asked. Sometimes. And the other times? Lennox did not answer. Henry looked sick. So Amelia was right. Lennox turned towards him. Do not reduce 15 years of intelligence work to whatever conspiracy theory Arthur Pembroke assembled. Lucy felt anger flare. Arthur is dead. I am aware. And Elliot? Yes. Sarah disappeared. Yes. Martin Vale disappeared. Yes. Clara forged a suicide letter. So, Reed claims. The wording mattered. Oliver claims. Lucy looked towards the library. Lennox was building his own version now. Oliver, the compromised investigator. Arthur, the grieving conspiracy theorist. Clara's statement questionable only because Oliver stole it. Different version, different truth. Who benefits? Lucy stared at Lennox. Not proof, but she finally understood the note more clearly. The danger was not simply lying, it was controlling which story became official. 20 minutes later, the weather cleared enough for the Coast Guard crew to confirm that another forensic team would reach Caerwyn shortly. Lennox seemed relieved. Lucy was not. More police meant more security. It also meant the fragile evidence would soon disappear into systems she did not understand. She needed one thing before that happened. Arthur's timeline, not Oliver's. Arthur's. She looked towards Amelia's portrait. Stories have to be told in the right order. Arthur had planned an entire presentation. Surely he had an order, a sequence, something showing how each guest connected. The leather folder had contained sections, but they had treated them individually. Perhaps the order itself was the clue. Lucy approached Neil. Arthur's presentation. He looked towards her. What about it? Did he rehearse it? Yes. Where? Study. Did he use slides? Neil thought. Some. Computer? Yes. Lucy looked towards Lennox. Arthur's desktop remained in the locked study. Police now controlled it. That route was closed. Did he print anything? A running order. Her pulse quickened. Where? Neil frowned. I saw it in the kitchen Friday. What did it look like? 2 pages, names and times. Names? Yes. Guest names? I assumed so. Where is it now? Neil looked uncertain. Arthur took it. With him? I don't know. Lucy thought of missing papers, envelope, photograph, perhaps another item removed. Did you ever read it? No. Anything at all? Neil closed his eyes. One line. What? He'd written, begin with the person who believes they arrived by accident. Lucy felt an immediate chill. Who? I don't know. Any other line? Neil thought harder. The final name. Yes? Neil opened his eyes. It was Lucy. Her stomach dropped. Me? Yes. Why? I don't know. Arthur had intended to finish with her. The journalist. Truth. The person Clara's profile called useful if directed. Why? Lucy thought of Arthur saying he needed a journalist. Perhaps not merely to listen, to publish. Arthur may have intended Lucy to carry the story beyond Carwin. That gave someone motive to watch her. Keep close. Not kill her, direct her. Clara needed Lucy alive because Lucy could determine which version of the story escaped the island. The thought frightened her more than being targeted for murder. She was not only a witness, she was an instrument. Andrew approached 20 minutes later with another observation. You wanted Arthur's order? Lucy looked up. Yes. I remembered something. What? The archive labels. He lowered his voice. Arthur color-coded guests. Lucy frowned. How? The ribbons in the leather folder. I thought they were subjects. They weren't. How do you know? The sections correspond to people. He counted softly. Red for Marcus, blue for Helen, green Henry, yellow Evelyn. And? Each section has dates. Lucy understood. A chronology. Yes. If we arrange the guest sections according to earliest contact with Amelia, we get Arthur's story order. Lucy felt excitement. Not another new clue. A way to organize existing ones. Exactly what they needed. Can you reconstruct it? Most of it from my notes. They sat beside the fireplace. Andrew wrote, Neil knew Amelia throughout her life. Clara and Henry through marrow and medicine. Marcus through the Calder. Helen through court. Evelyn through the exhibition. Oliver through Sarah years later. Elliot through photographs. Andrew through archives. Lucy last. But something was wrong. Arthur's plan had 9 guests, not counting himself. Neil, Marcus, Helen, Henry, Evelyn, Andrew, Oliver, Elliot, Lucy, 9. The order began forming. Then Andrew frowned. What? There's a section we never assigned. Color. Black. Lucy remembered. A thin black ribbon in Arthur's folder. She had seen it in the library. What was in it? I don't know. It was one of the section's missing papers. Label? Andrew stared towards her. No name. Only one heading. He wrote it down from memory. The witness. Lucy felt the room recede. Not a guest? Or perhaps one guest Arthur deliberately refused to name. Could be Sarah. Andrew nodded. Could be. Clara? Maybe. Lucy thought of Arthur's intention. A story told in order. Perhaps the black section was not about the murderer. It was about the person who could expose them. Sarah Mercer, alive, watching, sending emails. Perhaps the woman who handed Lucy the note. Sarah was the woman outside, Lucy whispered. Andrew looked towards her. You think? Clara knows the island. She doesn't need to send me a note telling me to look at who benefits. She wants to control me, not help me. But Sarah was Amelia's ally. The fourth person confusion returned. Sarah was not the fourth conspirator. Sarah photographed them. Sarah vanished. If alive, she had spent 10 years hiding. The woman running from Ravensmere might have been Sarah, not Clara. That explained the warning. Do not trust the police. Sarah had fled a corrupt police network. She would absolutely write that. Lucy stood. We've been chasing the wrong woman. Andrew looked startled. What? The woman outside the house. We saw a dark coat. Yes. We assumed Clara because we just discovered Clara. Lucy felt certainty rising, then checked herself. Curiosity stronger than confusion. Evidence. What proof? Andrew asked. None yet. Then? Samuel. They found him awake in the ground floor room with Neil beside him. Henry joined them moments later. Lucy crouched near the bed. Samuel, when Clara held you here, did you see what she was wearing? He frowned. Dark coat. Lucy's excitement faltered. What kind? Long, waterproof. Hair? Dark. The woman outside had dark hair. Could still be Clara. Did Clara have an injury? Samuel thought. On her hand. Lucy froze. What injury? Bandage around the palm? Elliot's killer had left blood. Not his. Lucy felt the room sharpen. Which hand? Left. Oliver's cut was on his left forearm. Clara's hand. The blood at the scene. Lucy looked towards Henry. Could a person striking someone with a blunt object injure their hand? Easily. If Elliot fought back? Yes. Henry understood. You think the blood is Clara's? Maybe. The word mattered, not certainty. Did Clara leave the cottage after Elliot died? Lucy asked. Samuel looked confused. I don't know when that was. Yesterday afternoon. I heard the door sometime around then. How long was she gone? Maybe half an hour. Enough. Lucy stood. Oliver's injury might be irrelevant, or planted as suspicion. Clara could have killed Elliot, but Samuel had heard her arguing with a male accomplice. Arthur invited him too. The male accomplice remained. And Arthur's murder? Samuel's sentence returned. Arthur wasn't supposed to die that way. Lucy felt close. Not to the name, to the structure. Clara handled operations. The accomplice belonged among the guests. Arthur's planned death changed. Elliot became an unplanned second murder, likely Clara's response. The accomplice's purpose might have been different. Protect a secret that would destroy multiple lives, their original plan. Lucy looked towards the drawing room. One person had repeatedly benefited whenever attention moved elsewhere. Who? Marcus's secret damaged Marcus. Helen's damaged Helen. Henry's damaged Henry. Oliver's damaged Oliver. Andrew's damaged Andrew. Neil's damaged Neil. Evelyn. Lucy stopped. Evelyn. What had Evelyn's major secret cost her? Almost nothing. She had met Amelia. She drew the follower. She remembered details when useful. Her omissions created clues but rarely danger for herself. Lucy immediately resisted the thought. Evelyn was her friend. That was exactly why she needed to examine it. Arthur liked his killer. Perhaps Lucy did too. She replayed the story. Evelyn had recognized Amelia's notebook. After they found it, Evelyn had revealed the photograph Amelia folded into an envelope. When prompted, Evelyn had identified Martin Vale from the sketch. Evelyn recognized Sarah's hands. Evelyn recognized Andrew's jacket stitch. Evelyn repeatedly supplied visual identifications at precisely the moment suspicion needed to move. An illustrator, someone who understands faces, memory, perception. Clara's profile of Evelyn responds to emotion before evidence, or perhaps that was what Clara wanted everyone to believe about her. Lucy felt cold. No, not enough. Evelyn had been 24 when Amelia met her. Could she have been involved then? Unlikely, unless her connection was not criminal, unless someone she loved was. The killer's motive was to protect a secret that would destroy multiple lives. Evelyn's personal secret remained shallow compared with everyone else's. A collaborative illustration credit, almost suspiciously harmless. Arthur had invited everyone because Amelia connected them. What was Evelyn's real connection? Lucy looked towards the drawing room. Evelyn sat beside Helen, sketchbook resting closed across her knees. Always the sketchbook. From the ferry onwards, she drew everyone. Recorded faces, recorded rooms, recorded positions, a visual diary of the entire weekend. If Evelyn were helping Clara, she could provide exactly what Clara needed. Observations, movements, reactions. Lucy's pulse accelerated. Then she remembered the very first ferry conversation. You can sit here? Evelyn had made room for Lucy. Immediate closeness. Clara's instruction, LG, keep close. Lucy stared. The words did not necessarily instruct Clara to keep Lucy close personally. They could instruct someone else. Someone who had been beside Lucy since the ferry. Someone Lucy trusted almost immediately. Evelyn. Lucy felt nausea rise. Still not proof. She needed proof. Her eyes dropped towards Evelyn's sketchbook. Evelyn had drawn Arthur on the morning before his death, standing at the library window. She had said he didn't know. That sketch could establish Arthur's position. Perhaps other sketches established more. Lucy? Evelyn noticed her staring. Lucy forced herself to smile. Sorry. What is it? Nothing. For once, Lucy lied effortlessly. She turned away, and then remembered something so small she nearly dismissed it. Chapter 5. Outside Arthur's study at 6:17. A figure escaped through the servants' staircase. At breakfast, when Oliver mentioned the staircase, Evelyn's eyes had moved briefly toward the servants' door. Lucy had noticed it, written nothing. Later, Evelyn claimed she had slept until 7. Another small lie. Lucy felt the breakthrough arrive not as excitement but dread. She walked towards Andrew. Do you still have Evelyn's sketches photographed anywhere? He frowned. No. Oliver asked to see them. Yes? Did he? I think so. Oliver's notebook, now with Lennox. Damn. Lucy looked towards Evelyn again. Sketchbook, still there. She needed access without alerting her. Then Marcus stood abruptly. Police launch. Everyone looked toward the window. Additional blue lights had appeared near the jetty. More officers, more time disappearing. Lucy realized Chapter 14 had just become inevitable. If she was right, she had perhaps minutes before the investigation scattered everyone. If she was wrong, she was about to accuse the gentlest person in Ravensmere House of helping a murderer. She looked towards Oliver's closed library door, then towards Evelyn, and finally towards Lennox, who was speaking into his radio with his back turned. Lucy understood what she had to do. Not accuse, verify. Arthur had taught her better than that. Truth was not finding the answer you wanted. It was understanding what happened to people. She crossed the room and sat beside Evelyn. The illustrator smiled faintly. You look awful. Lucy laughed softly. That makes 2 of us. Probably 8. Evelyn rested a hand on her sketchbook. Lucy looked towards it. Can I see something? What? The drawing of Arthur from Saturday morning. Evelyn hesitated. Very slightly. There it was again. Why? I keep thinking about where he was standing. Evelyn's fingers tightened around the cover. I don't know where that one is. Lucy smiled. It's in the book. No. Evelyn shook her head. I tore it out. Lucy felt her heartbeat increase. When? Yesterday. Why? Evelyn looked towards the window. I gave it to Oliver. That could be true. Oliver's notes were inaccessible. Did he ask for it? Yes. What for? To compare timings. Lucy nodded slowly. Then another memory surfaced. Oliver had told Lucy Evelyn's sketches might help, but Lucy had never seen the drawing again. Possible. Still no proof. Then Evelyn stood. I need the toilet. Lucy's stomach tightened. Police said nobody goes alone. Evelyn gave a tired smile. I think I can manage the downstairs loo. I'll come. The smile faded for half a second, then returned. If you like. They walked together. At the entrance hall junction, Evelyn stopped. Actually, Lucy. What? I'm sorry. The words felt wrong immediately. For what? Evelyn's face changed. The softness remained, but something beneath it disappeared. You really do ask the question after the question. Lucy felt cold spread through her body. Clara's exact profile. LG asked the question after the question. Lucy stared at her. Only Clara's hidden notes had contained that wording. Unless someone else had seen them, everyone in the schoolroom had. But Evelyn was repeating it now with strange familiarity. Lucy said nothing. Evelyn looked towards the open front door where additional police were approaching. Arthur was right about you. Every instinct Lucy possessed began screaming. What did Arthur say? Evelyn's eyes filled with something that looked almost like sadness. That you wouldn't know when to stop. Then she turned and walked calmly towards the downstairs corridor. Lucy remained standing, not because she was frozen, because she finally understood. Evelyn had not accidentally become close to Lucy. She had been assigned to her, keep close, useful if directed, the illustrator who watched expressions, the woman who saw what others missed, the person nobody had seriously suspected because she seemed too gentle to control anything. Lucy looked towards the approaching officers, then towards Evelyn disappearing around the corridor. She did not call out. Not yet. Because accusing Evelyn would reveal Lucy had understood. And if Evelyn was Clara's accomplice, then for the first time all weekend, Lucy possessed something the killers did not know she had. An advantage.